Hello and good morning, listeners. Welcome back to Almus Market Mornings, your daily dose of global financial updates. I'm your host, Swaraj Rajagopal, and we have got you covered on everything from currency shifts to pivotal central bank decisions and important speeches. Plus, you'll gain expert analysis on macroeconomic data that's shaping the market narrative right now. Join us for this episode and navigate the markets with confidence.
The dollar rebounded sharply yesterday after President-elect Donald Trump announced plans to impose additional tariffs, 10% on Chinese goods and 25% on products from Mexico and Canada. This sent the yuan down 0.4% against the dollar, while the Mexican peso and Canadian dollar dropped over 1% each. Interestingly, the rupee yesterday, before all of this news, appreciated and closed at 84.2875. US Treasury yields cooled, sparking a rally in bonds, yet gold fell 3.36%, continuing its recent volatile streak. Good morning, JK. With the dollar recovering, do you think the initial correction phase is over, or are we in for more surprises?
Good morning, Swaraj. Yes, but I think we are into a very volatile period. Yes, and that is to be expected when Trump is back in the saddle. And so we did not have too much of economic news yesterday, but there was enough news otherwise to move the markets. Initially, it was the reaction to Mr. Besant being considered as Treasury Secretary, and yields fell across the board. Particularly the long end, that 10-year and 30-year yield fell 13 to 15 basis points, and there was a good demand for stacking up on these bonds. Even the 2-year fell by about 10 basis points. This seems to have arisen confidence in the market that fiscal deficit will be reduced going forward in a phased manner. So even the stocks in US performed extremely well. Dow, S&P 500, and even the small cap Russell all hit all-time new high, and that was par for the course. But then the Asian markets actually have seen a lot of things turning around. First of all, it was a tweet by Mr. Trump, who has said that as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States. And he's also planning to put an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods, and this was enough to turn the markets around. So we have had currencies which were gaining yesterday, all turning around. And you can just imagine looking at the currency space that China euro is again moving towards its 2-year lows. New Zealand dollar 1-year low, as we also look for 50 basis points cut from the New Zealand Central Bank tomorrow. Canadian dollar hit more than 4-year low at 1.4150 because of the tariff impact. China also moving towards 7.30, but it seems like the central bank in China is quite resilient on stemming its fall, because they are fixing at 7.1910, was way below what the market would have forecast based on the other currency movements. And the Mexican currency is already trading at 2-year low. So it is the impact that we have seen after the Trump's news. This has actually overshadowed the news of a ceasefire that was being considered favorably by the Israeli Prime Minister with Lebanon. And of course, this needs to go through their cabinet to be approved. So that actually led to sell-off in the gold. Yes, yeah, as you said, gold also fell despite sharp fall in the yields because of the possibility of ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel. Oil has had a fall of about 3%, and oil looks the one which is most vulnerable to the downside, because not just because of the ceasefire, but also because one of the measures that the Treasury or even the US government is contemplating is to ramp up their oil production by leaps and bounds. As much as 3 million barrels per day is being thought about just to get the oil prices down and inflation down on a consistent basis. And this is likely to put the oil under severe pressure. I think people are looking at the 65 level in the crude oil price as a key level, break of which should put the oil prices in a new range. That's a good news for India, of course, or also even for the other oil importing countries. So we look forward to more volatility as Trump takes charge, and the initial reaction to Besant's nomination is also somewhat now getting subdued because of the other events that have come. As you said, Rupee has had good strength yesterday. It is good to see Rupee having a greater intraday move in recent days as central bank seems to be adopting a more flexible approach. Yesterday, of course, we did expect Rupee to strengthen on several positives like state election results, dollar index weakness, large flows due to MSCI global rebalancing, where as much as 2.5 billion inflow was being mentioned. Some amount of exporter selling was also seen, although central bank, as we expected, appeared on the buying side below 84.30, looking to replenish their reserves spent earlier on intervention. Going forward, flows will be key to Rupee's direction. We'll also take into account the global development, particularly on the tariff. Nothing has been mentioned as a blanket tariff, including India. That's where Rupee looks like it won't have much of a move right now on the weaker side, but then market will remain nimble. On the Asian side, we have seen the markets giving up initial gains, and then also, but resilience is seen in the Chinese and the Hong Kong market, which are like actually in the positive, whereas the rest of the markets are in the negative. So while we also push into the week where we'll have the GDP and the PCE inflation number from the US. Of course, it's also a shortened week for the US because of the Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday, and most of the traders will not be there on Friday as well. So it's going to market is going to thin out after tomorrow. But yes, the volatility can really be high because the statements from the officials can actually move the market in a bigger way with the lower liquidity. Yes, be nimble. Dollar overall, the strengthening tendency is not yet over. So we will be in that phase. Thank you.
Thank you, JK. And one clear thing it seems is that the investors are closely following Mr. Trump's plans once he takes office. Initially they reacted to his appointment of the future Treasury Secretary once he takes office next year, and that had a reaction because yields fell across the board and even the dollar fell in the morning session yesterday. But after that, of course, the tariff plans led to some dollar strength. Mexican and Canadian currencies took a big hit after Mr. Trump's direct tariff relations with both these countries. Geopolitical news was led by a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Oil and gold both fell on this news. And for Rupee, we saw good strength yesterday on the back of equity inflows, state election results, and the weakness in dollar index in the morning. Flows along with potential tariffs would guide the way forward for the Rupee, as JK mentioned. That's it from us today. Thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow for the latest in the financial markets.